How's it going? Welcome back, my wise ones, to a fantastic video today. Now, I'm pretty excited, I gotta be honest, because we finally get that, that juicy refresh pill that we've all wanted now for a very long time. And most people would agree that Black Flag was the most beloved Assassin's Creed game to come out. And as I said before, it's not because it's a great Assassin's Creed game. No, it's the opposite. It's because it's a great pirate game that this game is so beloved. And the Assassin's Creed Black Flag Remake, the resynced Black Flag, is honestly up there as one of the best remakes we've ever had. Now, currently we are in a weird time in the gaming industry. I talked about it in my last video, go check it out, as I complain a lot about just the current state of AAA gaming, the fact that we're getting a ton of remakes instead of new original ideas.
Wait a minute. This isn't my world. Disappointed!
Today I'm going to be giving you my Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced review, based on all the early access that I've managed to get hands-on with this game, all the press coverage, and everything that you need to know before actually playing this game. And I'll be testing out more games this September at Tokyo Game Show. It's one of the best remakes ever created, in my opinion. Because Black Flag was already a great game, they've managed to go back and develop this game for a second time. So it's basically the same game getting refined. It's not a remaster, it's not just graphics, it's fundamental gameplay changes to make it so much better. And it comes down to three simple things that they've actually changed, okay? And that is freedom. The sandbox gameplay is much more dynamic, much more freedom to the player. The fact that you can just take your ship, go out into the open world, no loading screens, jump into a body of water, dive, explore, hunt, completely with no tethers. That's a huge thing that makes it feel like a next-gen Assassin's Creed game. And honestly, it makes the world so much more alive compared to the original. I can't stress that enough, that it just makes it feel so much better, like Red Dead Redemption 2 levels of immersion when it comes to the world. Not the NPCs, not the A-Life, which I'll talk about as we get into the positives and negatives, but that's the main thing, freedom, okay? The sandbox environment has been completely transformed with dynamic weather systems, a physics-based combat system that allows for creativity but also skill, all of this kind of stuff. And it's even smaller details that just add to it feeling much more realistic and immersive, like the ability to just like put your hood on and off whenever you want to. The fact that the AI actually blocks you if you're spamming attacks now makes it feel much more dynamic and reactive. And overall, just the whole ambience of the world is just so much more immersive with, you know, all of this kind of new dynamic events that take place.
You're goddamn right.
And the next thing is, of course, the gameplay overhaul. The things that have actually changed within the gameplay mechanics themselves. Like I said, the combat, but not just this, how missions are structured, how things randomly, dynamically, you know, kind of react to how you're playing the game, which is much nicer, less RPG bullshit, because let's face it, Assassin's Creed does not make a good RPG. I'm sorry. The Assassin's Creed team do not know how to make a good RPG. I'm just gonna say it, you know, if you love the Assassin's Creed RPG games, more power to you, but I personally think that's when the series completely collapsed and I stopped playing after like Assassin's Creed Brotherhood or something and Black Flag, because yeah, they are just not my cup of tea when it comes to RPGs, so less of that stuff. There is still stat bonuses, like how many takedowns you can do with a certain weapon and how much damage it deals, but it's much more streamlined and simple. There is also like charms that you can equip. There's a little bit of that RPG flavor, but it's not a full-on RPG like some of the recent Assassin's Creed games. The stealth system is also a lot better this time around, with being able to crouch down wherever you want. And of course the NPCs still act like dumb Assassin's Creed NPCs where, you know, they don't really know what's going on, but still it is a lot better than the original game, I would say.
But what choice do we have? Well, it's not home, but we'll do just fine.
Now, if you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, become a wise one today. Honestly, this is my life, okay? And like most YouTubers, you know, you have to live and breathe this goddamn ecosystem, which can be fun, but also it can be rather draining, I'm not gonna lie. Just the excessive amount, just for just the constant amount of content that's in this modern day world now, it's a little bit overstimulating, I'm not gonna lie.
Don't ask questions, just consume product and then get excited for next product.
But if you do love RPG content and a philosophical breakdown looking at the game's themes as well as their gameplay, earlier access reviews like this, where I do a kind of more quick overview and then a deeper look at the game if I really love it later, subscribe, become a wise one, give the video a like, that does help out a lot, and consider checking out the music on Spotify or just joining as a member. That's only for my members. I've got like 30 videos plus, and it really does mean everything that you can support the channel in any way that you can. Thanks so much. I appreciate you.
Let's go already!
But also the fact that there's full-on boss battles now, which I actually think is a major, huge change that a lot of people aren't talking about, but it completely transforms how missions are done, and it's so awesome. So that's a big thing that I really like. And then finally, the big changes is of course the graphics, okay? And honestly, thank God it doesn't run like absolute dog turd, because it's not Unreal Engine 5. It is still quite a heavy game, but it certainly runs a lot better than a lot of modern day slop, so that's a good thing. So those are the three fundamental things in Assassin's Creed Resynced. And now for this Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced review, I'm going to go into all of the positives, all of the negatives, lay it all out for you to see if it's actually worth your money, because let's be honest, AAA games are so expensive now when you're buying them day one. So let's find out, is Black Flag Resynced worth it? Okay, so Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced review. Let's get into it. Let's go through all the positives and negatives. Not to waste your time too much, but I am a professional yapper, so you have to let me yap and let me cook sometimes. You know how it goes. But I do appreciate the wise ones for returning people watching this channel. Like, that makes me so happy. So just a big thank you to you guys and to any new guys subscribing. So let's get into this. So the first positive is how they've handled the story, the characters, the writing in general, okay, all of that good stuff. I would give that an overall positive, and that's not just a personal bias. I would say they've handled it very nicely for the most part. Like, some of the newer content that I have seen, obviously I haven't seen all of it, to be transparent, and I obviously can't talk about everything, but from what I have seen, the new missions, the new writing, it's a little bit hit or miss. Some of it is a lot better than others. Like, you've seen some of the, you know, kind of bad stuff that's been circulating with the kind of woman character that gets added to your ship. But honestly, a lot of the newer stuff is handled much better, but it definitely does feel a little bit more modern day, kind of wink wink. It definitely does have some of that Marvel slop writing where it just feels a little bit more corny, a little bit more stiff, but honestly it's not terrible, and some of it is actually done very well. And I hope there's more of that later on that kind of deal more with his character, his morality and stuff like that, but we're gonna have to wait and see. But the original stuff is so well done, even better, you know, just much more character, and the world feels much more alive. Like, even background NPCs like have little conversations now and then, your crew feels much more alive, more songs, more sea chants, all of this kind of stuff, so it just fleshes it out. And the writing overall, it's like much more tight, because now it's much more focused around the pirate story, not the modern day stuff, which you can completely skip out on now. So it just feels like a much more tighter story, and there's much more side content. But honestly, it just feels so much more immersive, just because it's the way that you can piece together, you know, the story with exploration, much more better environmental storytelling with like finding notes and stuff like that. So it just feels much more alive in that way, and the writing overall is just, you know, how it was, and a little bit more fleshed out in places it needs to be. But some of the cutscenes can feel a little bit weird when it does jump to the newer content, where it just feels a little bit more stiff and more safe. You know what I mean?
Know what I'm saying?
Yes, I know what you were saying. You don't have to keep asking.
Okay, now the next big thing that I want to highlight, and this is a huge positive for me, this might be a bit of a personal bias because I love Dark Souls and I love boss battles, okay? But now Assassin's Creed Resynced, but now with Black Flag Resynced, there are boss battles within the gameplay. So now when you get a target, often, not always, but often, they can actually, you know, be taken out in multiple different ways, almost like a goddamn Hitman mission, where you can go in sneaky and just take them out and just do a one-hit and just do a classic stealth kill. There's none of that bullshit RPG Assassin's Creed stuff where you have to, you know, maximize your stats and there's no one-hit kills. There are still, of course, one-hit assassinations. You can't use your hidden blades within combat except for takedowns, which is kind of disappointing. But still, you can take out enemies one-to-one. But honestly, with some of these targets, it's so much better when you actually fight them because it turns into a whole boss battle. But sadly, it is a little bit more restricted because they can't just let you escape this now boss battle, so it kind of turns into more of an arena. But honestly, like, they have their own movesets, and it's so well done, honestly, because this new combat system is much more skill-based than just, you know, mashing counter-attacks and doing, like, cheesy tactics and just, like, trying to cheese your way out of it. So it's a lot more thought out, and the bosses are actually pretty well done. Obviously nothing amazing, like you're going to be fighting giant creatures or the Kraken or something, but still, it does add more flavor to the whole experience. And of course, the next positive is just the freedom. It's so much more better now with, you know, encountering enemies, like customizing your whole experience. Like, you can actually change your wanted level, your bounty and stuff like that by just adding, you know, charms. It gives you a reason to explore, where the first game was good, but I felt like exploration was kind of gimmicky, very mobile, kind of gamey, with just finding, you know, random stuff to do in the sea, but it all felt very kind of checklisty. And again, it is a Ubisoft game. You can't expect it to be completely different. It is still very checklisty.
No! Not good! Stop! Not good!
But it's so much more organic, like the world. And now there's actual reasons to go out and explore, and it fits the themes of being a pirate game, because funny enough, what do you want to find when you're out exploring in a pirate game? It's fucking it's treasure. But luckily it's not pay to win garbage. It's actual loot that you can get in the world, treasure chests being, you know, across the whole map now, and you use this in a way that actually fits the game so much better with upgrading your gear and all of that stuff. It's much more organic, and then environmental storytelling much more fleshed out with notes and stuff like that. Yeah, so or you'll get little clues to find where better treasure is. I really like that, and honestly, just the fact that it's all completely open makes the world feel way more dynamic. Of course, there are some negatives. Things have been kind of stripped back in some regards. So, for example, now your main weapons are your double swords, and you get 3 types of these double swords. You get the cutlass, you get the pointy stabby one that most people will know from Dark Souls and stuff like that, or you can have these kind of pistol swords, which act as, you know, a kind of long-ranged attack, but also an awesome ability that you can trigger. And it's basically these 3 types, and there's different variations of them, dealing different damage, and legendary versions. So it's going for that legendary tier loot system, which I'm kind of not a big fan of, because again, this is not an RPG, so it would have just been cool to find, you know, weapons that have, you know, kind of different movesets. That would be much more better, but again, that needs a lot more animation work and stuff like that, and animation work isn't the best, and I'll talk about that more later. But anyway, that's the fundamental weapon types that you get in this game. So it is stripped back in the way that you can't just pick up a weapon from, you know, one of the enemies, which you could in the original game, which was a lot of fun. So that has been taken away. And again, you can't use your hidden blade and stuff like that, but still, you know, the weapons on offer are fun, and they do have their own bonuses and buffs and stuff like that. Again, a little bit of an RPG kind of trope, you could say. And yeah, I wish they kind of went for more like the Elden Ring kind of animation style, where it plays completely different, and there's kind of, and you can find like spears and stuff like that. But sadly, it's not the case. Weapons are kind of limited. There's also new content, like new outfits and stuff like that. You actually get some little pets on your ship, a monkey, and can't remember what the other one is, but yeah, you get some pets that are on your ship, which is kind of cool. Also, the combat system in general is just so much more better, because now you get the grappling hook from almost the very start, which allows you to do some very cool moves and even like pull people towards you to do an assassination. Also, you can use this to like hang people. It's just a lot of fun to mess around with that. And then now there's a dedicated kick and sweep button, so it's much more physics based, and I really love anything to do with physics in gaming. And I'm just so glad that the modern day sections have gone now. You don't have to worry about that anymore, which is a big deal for me, because I just did not like any of that stuff. It just broke the story and made me, you know, just be taken out of it. I know some people really like it, and you can still find that stuff, but it has been changed a lot. Sadly, it's missing some of the charm of the original games, like where it would give you like a kind of completion level at the end of each level, so you could go back and try and 100% it. I personally think that makes it more gamified, and I don't really like that. I much prefer the new system that they're going for, but some people might miss that. And also there's no cheats or anything like that, because again, that's a bygone era of gaming when it used to, you know, allow for more fun and freedom, not lock everything behind, you know, a paywall and stuff like that. But the level design does feel much more connected, like I said, because it's not stitched together as much as the previous game before. Now it's completely open world. I just think that is much better. And the overall pirate gameplay of upgrading your ship, like there's so much more to upgrade now, different combat playstyles with your ship, and you know, the crews and your crew now that gets bonuses from these new characters and stuff like that. It just makes it much more of a fleshed out experience, and that's the whole fun of this game, is fighting on the open water, you know, raiding other ships. But still, the overall piracy gameplay is much more evolved compared to the previous games, where it felt very, you know, like kind of that was the coating. Now it's fundamental gameplay. And again, I really have to just talk about the level design. That's a huge positive, with just how like islands and detail has been added to the smaller islands, you know, a reason to actually explore. And before, there would be pretty much nothing there at times. Now there's a reason to explore. There's some cool things that you can find underwater, although it's not completely, you know, like a full underwater system with lots of discovery. But still, I really like the fact that you can just swim anywhere. It just adds to that immersion and that kind of pirate lifestyle. Customization as well has been greatly improved to your, you know, outfits. Like I said, you know, a lot of new outfits, and just customization of your ship as well. But it would have been cool to see you expand your fleet and, you know, maybe have added ships to your fleet to control and stuff like that. Sadly, this is a modern game, so you do have to expect that it won't be able to run super well. I'm not sure how it runs on consoles, because I tested it out on PC. And yeah, it's you know, it's going to be a heavy game with ray tracing and stuff like that. You can turn that off, which does make it run a lot better. Still a lot better than Unreal Engine games, but it is a heavy game. Luckily, it's not tied to some kind of special graphical feature paid and bought for by Nvidia or AMD or anything like that. So it does run pretty well from what I've seen, but I couldn't test it out on my own PC, so I don't know how it runs on kind of a mid-range PC. But hopefully it's not terrible performance, but there are at least no like stutters or anything like that. Hunting and the wildlife and just vegetation and all that stuff, the world feels much more alive. And that's the biggest thing that you want in a remake, is the world to feel like a living, breathing place, a connected world, and it certainly does now. And like I said, there's just way more reasons to go out and explore, even if it's not like cool like new towns or, you know, stuff like that that you'll discover. It's more about the small environmental stuff that you do find, treasure and loot, weapons and stuff like that, that you can discover out in the world now. That to me just makes it much more compelling to go out and explore. And then of course the main thing is still, it's a story game, story focused game. So it's not so much about the open world, but the open world now actually allows for exploration, meaningful exploration I should say. But there are some negatives when it comes to the combat system overall. Like, I really do like how, you know, the kind of artificial intelligence does learn from you doing the same attack over and over again. There's not much explanation for like how these systems work now. But honestly, it's quite easy to figure out. You know, you've got your dedicated grapple button, your dedicated kick button and stuff like that, and they actually react now to what's around them. So if you're up against a wall, that can actually be used to your advantage. Again, it's much more physics based, and when you do finally unlock that takedown by doing a perfect parry or something like that, it depends on your weapon that you're using how many takedowns you can do. And I really do like that they've got a perfect dodge as well, and it kind of slows down time and stuff like that. And overall, it's just way more, you know, reactive and much more skill based. But there is a problem, and that is the animations. Because they've done this system and perhaps they're using some of the old code from the original game, some of the animations are worse than before, where it literally breaks and you see your arm kind of glitching through someone's face, stuff like that, and that's at least what I saw, and I doubt it's got patched, but you never know. So be warned that sometimes it does kind of not sync up, and the same thing with the sound, which is kind of, you know, an Assassin's Creed problem. Overall, I would say this is a massive improvement compared to the original game, and Assassin's Creed in general. It's like, you know, this is what Assassin's Creed should be. And just the way that they've changed up the level design with adding notes and different ways to explore the world around you, to piece things together, makes it much more of an interesting game, much more of that sandbox Assassin's Creed that we used to get in the original games. And yeah, I just think they've improved the formula of base Black Flag. So honestly, not really many negatives at all. It kind of just harkens back to what made Assassin's Creed great from the beginning, and that is a massive positive if you ask me. Of course, there are some things they could have improved. They could have added more systems, like I said, a piracy system that, you know, is kind of tied to your actions, or like how, like, tied to, you know, how good, tied to your actions, or how much crime you're committing and stuff like that. That would have been cool to see. Some things still do feel very last gen, like when you take out forts and stuff like that, like you can't actually go and fully raid them. And of course, it still has that kind of lifeless NPC feeling where none of the side characters truly feel alive. But honestly, the exploration is a lot better now. The world itself is a lot better with these dynamic systems, the whole new weather system, day and night cycle, it actually interacting with the gameplay, like thunderstorms, the ocean being more deadly, which breaks your line of fire, and gusts of wind that throw you off course. All of that stuff is just a huge positive, but it still does have some of that checklisty, you know, Ubisoft slop. So if you're completely against all Ubisoft games, then you probably won't like this. But if you like the older style Ubisoft games and you love Black Flag, this is just a perfect refinement and what a remake should be, if you ask me. So there you go, my wise ones. That is the Black Flag Resynced review, the Black Flag Remake review, based on all of the early access stuff, from what I've seen myself at press events, and from all the early access coverage that I've done, and all the other press details that I've been extensively researching. Hopefully now you get a bigger picture of what this game is, if it's truly worth day one price. I would say it is if you're craving an open world pirate game like this, but otherwise, you know, wait for a sale. But pretty much there's not many negatives to this game. It's just it's just Black Flag, but just a lot better. This is what a remake should be. Not just shiny graphics, but actually adding fundamental changes to the gameplay and making it feel much more immersive. And that is what they've done. They've just nailed that. The only thing that they really haven't changed much is the story, but I think that's a good thing for the most part, because modern day writing is pretty terrible. The lack of creativity is clearly obvious in today's industry, and there's always an agenda tied to modern day writing a lot of the times, which is sad. But I do hope you enjoyed this Black Flag Resynced review. Let me know if you're going to be getting this day one or you're going to wait for a sale. What you think of modern day gaming currently, what it is right now and how it's kind of collapsing, and the state of Ubisoft. And if you do like deeper analysis, I will probably do a breakdown of this game in the future, but it honestly doesn't have much philosophical deep themes to it. It's just a banger pirate game, and honestly that sense of freedom that we've always wanted is now finally here. It's finally lived up to the best pirate game potential it could have been. Sometimes you need a game that is just fun to play, that allows for that sense of adventure, that open world wonder, and it's nailed it, honestly. So thank you for watching, my wise ones. Give the video a like, and I'll be seeing you in the next video. Have a great day. Peace out.